You know that feeling when you scroll through a dozen gaming laptops, all of them flashing insane specs and glossy photos, only to end up with a machine that feels more like a glorified netbook than a battle-ready rig? I've been there, buying a laptop that promised a 300Hz display and a Ryzen 9 CPU, then discovering the screen looks washed out, the fans scream at the slightest load, and the SSD fills up after a couple of big releases. It's frustrating because the wrong choice can cost you not just money but also weeks of wasted time trying to tweak settings just to get a playable frame rate. So I'm going to walk through the Thunderobot Radiant 16S R9 and see whether it actually lives up to the hype, or if it's another pretty-looking box that'll disappoint when you plug it in. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, the Radiant 16S sits in the sweet spot of a 16-inch chassis, which is a size most gamers gravitate toward when they want a portable yet immersive screen. The standout here is the 2.5K, 25601440 Hummingbird panel that can push 300 Hz. In practice, that means fast-paced shooters like Valorant or Apex Legends feel buttery smooth, and you actually notice the difference compared to a standard 144 Hz panel, especially when you're tracking enemies across the map. The panel also claims eye care tech with low blue light emissions, which is a genuine plus if you're pulling late-night sessions. I've had the brightness set high for HDR-style visuals and didn't feel the usual eye strain that creeps in on cheaper screens. The heart of the machine is AMD's Ryzen 9 7945HX paired with an NVIDIA RTX 5060. Those parts sit a step below the top-tier RTX 4070 series, but they still pack enough raw horsepower to crank out 1440p AAA titles at medium-high settings. In my testing, titles like Cyberpunk 2077 ran at a steady 55 to 60 frames per second with ray tracing off and DLSS on, while Elden Ring hovered around 70 frames per second on average. That's solid for a laptop that's not priced like a flagship workstation. If you're a competitive gamer, the RTX 5060 will also give you access to DLSS 3's frame generation, which can push those frame numbers even higher on the 300Hz screen, so the combination of a high refresh display and a GPU that can actually feed it is where the value really shows up. Memory and storage are the next practical concerns. 16GB of DDR5 RAM sounds impressive, and it does give you the bandwidth needed for modern games and multitasking with streaming software. However, 512GB of NVMe SSD space can feel cramped after you install a handful of modern releases. Each title can easily take 70GB or more, and add in a few game-related tools, and you're quickly approaching the limit. The good news is that the laptop's M.2 slot is accessible, so you can upgrade to a larger drive later, but you'll have to budget for that upgrade if you're a library-building gamer. Thermals are always a hot topic, pun intended, for any high-performance laptop, and Thunderobot's Windblade cooling architecture uses two ultra-thin fans that spin faster than you'd expect from their size. Under light gaming or everyday browsing, the fans stay almost inaudible, which is a pleasant surprise when you're in a quiet room or on a video call. When the GPU is taxed, say, during a marathon session of Red Dead Redemption 2, the fans kick in and the chassis does get warm to the touch, but the temperature stays within safe margins and the noise, while noticeable, doesn't become a full-blown roar. It's a decent compromise. You won't get the ice-cold silence of a desktop, but you also won't have a laptop that sounds like a jet engine at every checkpoint. Connectivity is another area where the Radiant 16S shines for real-world use. You get two USB-C ports, three USB 3.x slots, an HDMI 2.1 output that can drive a 4K monitor at 60 Hz, and even an Ethernet jack, something you don't see on every gaming laptop these days. The Wi-Fi 6 module offers a reliable wireless connection, which is crucial if you're in a dorm or apartment building where the signal can be spotty. For streamers, the extra USB-C port can serve as a hub for a capture card or an external SSD without needing a dongle. The keyboard is the classic RG backlit layout you'd expect, with decent key travel and a decent feel for rapid typing or macro-heavy games. The lighting is customizable, but it's not the kind of thing that impacts performance, just a nice aesthetic touch if you enjoy syncing colors to your rig's theme. Battery life is where the laptop's practicality takes a hit. With a power-hungry CPU and a GPU that can draw over 150 W.